Let's talk about the oceans of our world. They're massive and deep, which means we honestly don't know everything that exists within them. Despite not always knowing what's down there, we've had plenty of interactions and encounters with the many creatures that live in the depths. With all that in mind, here are the 20 largest sea creatures that ever existed. Number 20. The Leadsichthys. I've shown you plenty of creatures that look like certain ones in this channel, and I'll add to that by showing you this one, which apparently was an ancient kind of ray-finned fish, aka a kind of bony fish. Like with others on this list, the estimated length of the creature such as this varied widely, with some saying that it would only get about 9 meters in length, while others felt that it would be more like 30. This prehistoric ocean giant, which swam in the seas about 165 million years ago during the Jurassic period, could reach an estimated length of about 50 to 60 feet, which is about the size of a school bus. But despite its monstrous size, it was not a fearsome predator like a shark or a mosasaur. Instead, it was more like today's baleen whales using gill rakers, think of them as underwater filters, to sift through the water and eat tiny plankton. It spent its days gliding through the oceans, gulping down vast amounts of krill, jellyfish, and small fish. Because its skeleton is mostly cartilage like a shark, not much of it fossilized quite well, so it's actually up for debate on the real true size of the creature. It likely went extinct due to changes in the marine ecosystem, possibly competition from other fish along with shifts in plankton population. But whatever the reason, by the time that the Cretaceous period rolled around, this one was gone, leaving behind only its massive and scattered bones. Number 19. The Chronosaurus. Despite the name, this was not one that could control time. That would be an absolutely scary thing indeed. It actually comes from a family of dinosaurs that are known for being incredibly long, and as I will note many times in this video here on the thought trail, how big they actually are is up for debate. The general scientific consensus is that they were between 9 and 13 meters in length, which makes them pretty big and something that we should all be glad is not in our current world. Just as interesting was that they had very long skulls, and those skulls had 6 pairs of teeth that were waiting to eat its prey with vigor. In fact, many feel that they went after rather large prey, which just goes to prove that some animals had really big appetites back then. Number 18. The Shastasaurus. While the last creature that we had was kind of big, the Shastasaurus was one of the largest known creatures of its kind, and that's saying something. This thing was 21 meters in length. Just between its flippers, it was 7 meters, which should really give you a highlight of just how monstrous that the thing must have looked in the ancient waters of the world. And yet, when you further observe the body, you're going to realize that it wasn't meant for biting food to death. Instead, it was a suction feeder. Some would dispute that, but it's cool to think about it either way. After all, this would put this ancient dinosaur along the lines of certain whales of our current age, who have the mass but not the aggressive streak. Number 17. The Pliosaurus. The Pliosaurus is arguably one of the more classic extinct species of the deep that you see in various documentaries about the ancient periods of the world and such. They have the classic body type with their long body, massive flippers, elongated head, and more, and it looks like something that can move through the water with serious ease. Another key thing about the species is that there are many versions of them, and they all have different sizes. The largest of the lot can measure in between 13 to 14 meters, which is quite impressive. As for its flippers, it used them in sets to ensure that it could maneuver through the water with ease and then pour on the speed when it was going after its prey. Number 16. The Leviathan. Remember the Megalodon that I talked about from before? Well, there's one thing that I didn't mention that kind of makes it all the more intriguing, is that it was an apex predator of the ancient waters, which it absolutely was. The thing that I didn't mention is that many people felt that it had a singular rival known as the Leviathan, or as you might call it by its more popular pop culture name, the Leviathan. Now, believe it or not, this was an ancient version of a sperm whale, and it was named after the biblical creature and the infamous whale from the Moby Dick book. Inspiration can come from all walks of life. Based on certain bones that have been discovered, scientists believe that it could have been over 17 meters in length, which would have put it in the realm of the Megalodon in terms of its size. And so it could have been something that competed against it for territory or even the same food supply. And before you go thinking whales don't fight sharks, well, they certainly do, especially when they have a feeling that they're not going to lose. If they were rivals, one could only wonder what kind of clash between these two would have looked like, or if having them both in the same bodies of water may have hastened their demise in the end. Sadly, we'll not find out unless we get more evidence of their coexistence and the clashes that they may have had. Now it's time for today's topic. A deep-sea drone launched to film volcanic activity near the Pacific's Ring of Fire has captured chilling footage of a massive, unknown shark swimming near the volcano. The drone, deployed to explore the dangerous underwater terrain, unexpectedly recorded the creature as it emerged from the shadows, its enormous body covered in deep scars that hinted at a violent life in the ocean's depths. The shark, estimated to be over 50 feet long, swam slowly past the drone, its jagged fins and ancient appearance unlike any known species. Experts reviewing the footage are stunned. These volcanic regions are rarely explored due to their extreme conditions, one marine biologist explained. It's possible that creatures like this have adapted to these hidden environments, far from human interference. The scars on the shark's body suggest it has survived countless battles, raising questions about what other predators might exist in these uncharted waters. Some scientists speculate it could be a prehistoric species, a relic of an ancient era that has remained hidden in the depths. The discovery has sparked global intrigue, with many wondering what other secrets lie in the dangerous, unexplored regions of the ocean. Could this be proof that prehistoric giants still roam the Earth's waters? Number 15. The Dunkleistus. From a gentle giant to an armored tank, we'll now talk about the Dunkleistus. And no, I'm not exaggerating at all when I said that it's an armored tank. When scientists found the fossils, it had an armored body, and that came in handy in more ways than one. First, it protected the forward parts of the creature, which meant that it could take blows from rivals without a whole lot of issue. However, those armored plates also helped it with its biting power, and it had a biting ability of over 3,000 kilograms of force. That puts it on par with some of the most powerful creatures to have ever roamed the earth on land or in the water. And as for its length, there is a debate about how long that it actually could be. Some felt that it could have been about 10 meters in length, while others say it's more accurate to have been about half of that. Either way, could you just imagine having to deal with this kind of creature in the deep? If it did live today, it's quite possible that it could have been a nightmare for ships, as its armored body would have been more than able to either puncture or pierce the hull of one of them with either its head or its jaw. Thankfully, it is extinct, so we don't have to worry about it anymore. But if it could evolve to be like that, well, it means that others could get an armored form given enough time. Number 14. The Tylosaurus. There's plenty of irony when it comes to the Tylosaurus, but the biggest one is that it's actually part of a species that we'll be talking about in a bit. However, this one is different from that future entry because it's a derived version of that species, meaning that it came late into the evolutionary cycle while also developing some unique features of its own. As for its size, it's estimated to have been about 14 meters in length, if not a bit bigger, and the body was said to be incredibly streamlined. When you look at the skeleton for the creature, it looks menacing without the flesh, and some creatures are just born scary. Number 13. The sperm whales. Now, I'll jump into modern times to talk about one of the other big modern whales of the world, the sperm whale. Contrary to the blue whale, which is noted as being a gentle giant, the sperm whale is absolutely not. In fact, it is the largest of the toothed whales and the largest toothed predator in the world today. I'm not saying that it will go after a human unless it's provoked, but it's not the whale that you want to risk time around. That goes double when you hear that they can be over 16 meters in length at times, and when you add that to their body mass, that's a whole lot of bulk that it can throw around if it wants to, and it often wants to. In fact, it's so good and such a great predator that it has absolutely no true rival. Number 12. The Steller's sea cow. This is an ancient version of what we have known to be a sea cow, like a manatee or a dugong. Yet these ones were known to be far bigger in their modern versions, as they could be over 9 meters in length and weigh over 10 tons, which makes for a really big cow. Yet, like its modern relatives, the creature ate nothing but kelp and seaweed, and it just goes to show that sometimes things just like to snack on smaller things. Number 11. The Elasmosaurus. When you learned about dinosaurs in school, you probably remember the land dinosaurs that had all of those massive necks that seemed to stretch on forever. Well, this one is the water version of that via the Elasmosaurus. As you can see, it was a creature that was indeed huge but was also comprised largely of its neck, measuring it over 10 meters in length at times. You can do your best to calculate just how much of that is in the neck, and here's a hint, that would be about 7 meters. The neck itself was made up of around 70 vertebrae, far more than most other marine reptiles, giving it incredible flexibility. Some scientists theorize that Elasmosaurus used its long neck to sneak up on schools of fish, keeping its body hidden while its head darted forward to catch prey. Others suggest that the neck may have been used to reach into crevices or coral reefs to hunt for smaller marine creatures. However, its long neck may have also been a disadvantage, as it could make the Elasmosaurus vulnerable to attacks from larger predators like mosasaurs. Despite its size, Elasmosaurus was not particularly fast, relying more on stealth and ambush tactics than speed to catch its prey. Its paddle-like limbs allowed it to glide gracefully through the water, but it likely struggled in high-speed chases. Fossil evidence suggests that Elasmosaurus primarily inhabited shallow seas, where it could take advantage of abundant food sources. Its sharp, conical teeth were perfect for gripping slippery prey like fish and squid, making it a specialized hunter. But the kicker is, despite us knowing how long the necks were, we don't actually know why they were that long, and the obvious assumption is for that of feeding, but it's hard to know for sure. It is an absolutely massive creature and no doubt equally dangerous. Number 10. the Basilosaurus. Remember how I talked about the sperm whale being an aggressive whale? Well, here's another one from the ancient period of history, the Basilosaurus, one of the largest creatures of its time. It was known to be between 18 and 20 meters in length, and when you look at the jaws that the thing had, well, you wouldn't want to be bitten by it ever. Its long, slender body gave it a snake-like appearance, which is how it earned the name Basilosaurus, meaning king lizard, even though it was a mammal and not a reptile. Fossil evidence suggests that Basilosaurus was a top predator in its ecosystem, feeding on fish, sharks, and even smaller whales. Its teeth were specialized, with sharp, serrated edges designed for slicing through flesh, making it a highly efficient hunter. Unlike modern whales, Basilosaurus had small, vestigial hind limbs, which were likely useless for swimming but may have been used during mating. Its elongated body and powerful tail allowed it to move through the water with surprising speed and agility, making it a formidable predator in the ancient seas. Scientists believe that Basilosaurus may have hunted in shallow coastal waters, ambushing prey with its massive jaws. Despite its size, its relatively lightweight body compared to other large marine mammals likely gave it an advantage in maneuverability. Even still, if you did live in those ancient waters, it was a creature that you were on the lookout for. Number 9. The Helicoprion. Now, I'm going to talk about a creature that was indeed big in its own right, but I'm discussing it more about what it specifically looked like versus just its large size. Based on some of the teeth that have been found, this creature could have been well over 7 meters in length, which would have placed it on par with many sharks in the world today. However, the thing that sets it apart more than anything else in the deep, both then and now, was its mouth and how its teeth were arranged. Specifically, I'm talking about how the teeth were arranged in a configuration that, along with the shape of its mouth, made it look like the shark had a buzzsaw as a mouth. And it's not just projections that show this or something along those lines. We do know this because of the actual fossil record of the creature, which arguably makes it even more insane. Why in the world did this creature look like this? Why did it need to have a mouth like that? And why did it evolve into forming a mouth like that in the first place? Nobody really has the answers, and that's what makes it all the more crazy that this creature did truly exist. And as for its longer teeth, while they were said to be about 10 centimeters in length, so just imagine a whole bunch of those on a tooth whirl of sorts. It is a terrifying picture to try and comprehend, and we should all be glad that sharks don't look like that today because we have enough to worry about from them anyways. Number 8. The blue whale. It's a bit ironic that it took us a couple of entries in order to get to the blue whale, and the reason that I say that is because the blue whale is technically the largest animal in the world's history that we know of right now. Just as a note, I'm saying largest in the multiple dimension sense. There are creatures that were longer than the blue whale, especially during the age of dinosaurs, but in terms of sheer mass, it is the biggest to ever exist apparently. Now, if you're curious as to how big that it is, the longest ones around can weigh about 200 tons, and that's a whole lot. As for its length, it is something that has been debated quite a bit over the years. There have been all kinds of unconfirmed claims made about the species' length, but the one that is most agreed upon is that they can get up to about 30 meters. So yes, that's a really long creature that you will find in today's world. One of the greater ironies of the blue whale is that it's incredibly large yet also incredibly gentle. It's the definition of the gentle giant, and it doesn't mind having that label in the slightest. It's more concerned about helping out its pod and migrating from one area to the next than doing anything else that even resembles being mean. And of course, the darker irony here is that people don't actually care about that and have hunted them down for quite some time for their oils, meats, and more. Even when whaling was curbed or downright outlawed, it continued on. Fast forward to now, and the threats that they face are still numerous, which is why we have to be better about taking care of our oceans, or else we may end up losing this incredible creature amongst many others. Number 7. The massive swordfish. Given that I've talked about all manner of fish both big and small on this list, why don't I end things by talking about a catch that was truly huge and something that you could possibly get yourself if you were lucky. I'm talking about the swordfish. These are one of those truly unique catches of the deep blue sea, as they start out looking like normal fish until you get to their heads, and that's when you see their giant noses that can really be as sharp as a sword, and thus you have to look out for them. Even if you do catch one, you'll have to be on the lookout because they could still skewer you as they flounder around on your deck. In the case of one man from 2019, he caught a swordfish that was almost 350 kilograms, which is absolutely huge. And if you have a look at these pictures, well, the thing is massive in all the ways that matter. But that's not the truly shocking part of the story. The real story is that the man was so dedicated to getting the swordfish once it was on the reel, he spent 8 hours trying to get it into the boat. Some of you may think that that's absurd, but it's a bit more nuanced than that. In fact, it's something that happens quite often with catches of this size. You have to think about it. It's a massive fish weighing in at 3 to 4 times more than the person catching it. The reel is strong, but the fisherman or angler has to be smart and slowly bring it in. They have to work with the rod, the line, the fish itself, everything, so that it won't break the line and be able to escape or get to a position where it's even harder to pull it in. So yes, sometimes an 8-hour stint on the reel is necessary, and that's why some anglers bring in backup to help relieve them so that they can rest and be ready for the next charge. Number 6. The lion's mane jellyfish. As has already been proven on this list, size is not about being huge in all the ways that matter. You can be long or wide or even thick. It just depends on which direction you wish to keep on going in. For the lion's mane jelly, the direction that it loves to go in is length, as it's one of the longest creatures on this list by a large margin, if not the longest, depending on how you want to look at it. One of the ironies of the creature is that we know about its massive measurements from a rather distant time period, as it was captured and then measured in 1865, and the results were astounding. In regard to its bell, which is the largest part of its body, it was just over 2 meters in length, which is pretty good. However, when they measured its tentacles, they ended up being 36.6 meters in length. So yes, that is a really long set of tentacles. Then, when you look at how the body is formed, things get even more interesting, as the bell of the lion's mane is divided into 8 lobes, which gives the look of an 8-pointed star. Each lobe contains about 70 to 150 tentacles arranged in 4 fairly distinct rows, and it's those rows that make up the massive length of the jellyfish, which presents some rather unique opportunities and challenges for those who come to its range. After all, when you're dealing with a thin tentacle, you might not even see them coming until you're just into them, and when that happens, you're going to get stung. The good news is that the sting isn't known to be fatal or even do serious damage. They can cause some serious stinging, and you don't want to get stung many times over, but you can say that about any jellyfish that you come across. To help prove how dangerous this singular jellyfish's long tentacles are, in Australia in 2010, a dead jellyfish actually stung over 150 beachgoers that came across its body. Number 5. The Megalodon. Next, I'm going to talk about big in the literal and metaphorical sense because I'm starting with one of the largest predators in the history of the world, and that would be the Megalodon. That's right, I'm talking about one of the largest sharks to ever exist, and this one was the largest carnivorous shark to ever swim in the deep. For context, the whale shark is said to have been bigger, but even that's a bit debatable. In fact, the true size of the Megalodon is one of the most intensely debated things ever when it comes to this shark. That's because we don't have a full skeleton of one because the fossilization process is not the best when it comes to sharks. We do know that it did exist because there have been numerous fossils of its teeth, and those teeth are absolutely huge. You could actually wear them like a pendant. They are that huge at times. As such, the size of the sharks vary from anywhere between 10.5 meters to 20.7 meters, which is quite the gap, and that's just doing the best estimate with the fewest errors in logic. Now, yes, scientists don't know everything. What they do know for sure is that this shark wasn't only massive, it was rather ravenous, to the point where some felt that it had to eat tons of food in the literal weight sense just to satiate its hunger. Plus, between its razor-sharp teeth, which it had in great number, and the bite force that it possessed, it was a shark that could just about kill anything. And if you're not catching my drift, it means that it was an apex predator of the oceans. Given all of that information, you may wonder why this shark isn't around anymore, and there are 2 generally accepted reasons for its extinction. The first is that the climate of the world was changing due to an extinction-level event, and that limited where it could actually go in the world's oceans. Then, as its ecosystem changed and other species died out, it just couldn't get the food it needed to survive, and as such, it went extinct. But there are some people today who still feel that the Megalodon exists, and that's why you see plenty of B-movies about its potential emergence in our oceans. Number 4. The colossal squid. Now, I'm going to dive deep into one of the inspirations behind that mythical creature, and that would be the colossal squid. There are plenty of reasons why the creature may have scared the bejesus out of all of the sailors that it came across during their time in the water. First and foremost, it's a massive being. The upper estimates of the creature say that it could reach about 14 meters in length, and we haven't seen too many of them in the water, so nobody can say for certain just how big they get. To help prove that, humans did not officially find this colossal squid until 1925. Then, it would not be until 1981 that they were able to gather up an adult version of the colossal squid, and the largest one that we ever officially caught was from 2007. So yes, we may not be as in the know about this creature as we are about others in the deep, but what we do know might actually terrify you. For example, the colossal squid has the biggest eyeball in the entire world. The largest one that was ever measured was 40 centimeters, and that definitely sees you with that thing. And it can also be a rather bulky squid, with the largest one captured at being over 1,000 kilograms. However, scientists feel that it could reach even bigger. However, in spite of it all, you need to understand that there have been no official reports of one of these squids ever attacking a boat or even a sailor. They are big and mighty, but unless you give them a reason to, they are more than likely going to leave you alone. Number 3. The Mosasaurus. I've talked about the Mosasaurus quite a bit on the channel before because it is indeed one of the largest sea creatures to have ever lived, but it's also one of the stars of the original Jurassic World movie. It's the one that jumps out of the water during the entertainment show at the beginning of the film and then finishes off the Indominus Rex during the climax. In the real world, the Mosasaurus had a wide range of lengths, and that depended on what family member that you're talking about. The largest one, and also the one that the Jurassic World film likely based theirs on, could grow up to be about 17 meters in length. Fossil evidence suggests that Mosasaurus was an apex predator, feeding on a variety of prey, including fish, turtles, ammonites, and even other marine reptiles. Its long, streamlined body and powerful tail allowed it to move through the water with incredible speed and agility, making it a highly efficient hunter. The Mosasaurus also had a double-hinged jaw and flexible skull, which enabled it to swallow large prey whole, much like modern-day snakes. Its sharp, conical teeth were perfectly adapted for gripping and tearing flesh, ensuring that few creatures could escape once caught. Some scientists believe that Mosasaurus may have used ambush tactics, lurking in the depths before launching sudden, powerful attacks on unsuspecting prey. Its ability to hunt in both shallow coastal waters and deeper ocean environments made it one of the most versatile predators of its time. Whether they ate land dinosaurs, well, that's up for debate. When you put that length with how their bodies were shaped, they were designed for being incredible swimmers, and that likely helped them to get all of the prey they could ever want. Number 2. The Ichthyosaurus. When you look at the Ichthyosaurus of the ancient world, you might feel the urge to say, wow, that looks like a prehistoric dolphin. And yes, that resemblance can be striking, minus the extra set of fins at the bottom of its body. But what will likely blow your mind is that not only were the Ichthyosaurus a rather diverse and wide-ranging species via their size, the maximum size was said to be about 26 meters in length, which makes for a really, really big dolphin. Fossil evidence suggests that ichthyosaurs were incredibly fast swimmers, with streamlined bodies and powerful tails that allowed them to reach speeds comparable to modern-day tuna or marlins. Their large eyes, some of the biggest ever recorded in the animal kingdom, gave them excellent vision in the dimly lit depths of the ocean, making them highly effective hunters. Some species were ambush predators, lying in wait for prey, while others actively chased down schools of fish or squid. Their diet varied depending on the species, with some feeding on small marine creatures and others capable of taking down larger prey, including other marine reptiles. Ichthyosaurs also gave birth to live young, a rare trait among reptiles, and fossilized remains of pregnant females have been discovered, showing that they were well adapted to life in the water. Their ability to thrive in a variety of marine environments made them one of the most successful groups of marine reptiles during the Mesozoic era. However, their dominance eventually waned, likely due to changing ocean conditions and competition from other marine predators like plesiosaurs and mosasaurs. Oh, and while they may look like dolphins, they were known to behave like sharks, with some of them having razor-sharp, bladed teeth so that they could take chunks out of a larger prey that they came across. And that makes for one very terrifying creature indeed. Number 1. The Placodontia. Now, how about we shake things up and I show you something that was still large but not in the same way that the others on this list are. Placodontia actually translates to tablet teeth, and while it was a big and ancient creature, it was only about 3 meters in length at max. That makes it not the biggest one around, but it did have its uses. Its tablet-like teeth were perfectly adapted for crushing hard-shelled prey like clams, mussels, and other marine invertebrates, making it a specialized feeder in its ecosystem. Placodonts were part of the Triassic period, thriving in shallow coastal waters where their diet was abundant. Their broad, flat bodies and paddle-like limbs made them excellent swimmers, though they were not particularly fast, relying more on their armor for protection than speed for escape. The armor plating on their backs, which resembled that of modern-day turtles, was made of bony scuts that provided a strong defense against predators like early marine reptiles. Some species of placodonts even had extended armor on their bellies, offering additional protection when they rested on the seafloor. Fossil evidence suggests that their heavy armor and dense bones also helped them stay submerged, allowing them to forage along the ocean floor with ease. Despite their defensive adaptations, placodonts eventually went extinct, likely due to competition with more advanced marine reptiles that emerged later in the Mesozoic era. The ancient waters were quite dangerous, and you needed to be ready for an attack at any given moment. That's all from the depths of the ocean, showcasing the largest sea creatures to have ever existed on the planet. Were you amazed and stunned by some of the creatures I showed you today? Which ones did you not realize were that big? Perhaps there's another creature that could have made this list. Be sure to let me know in the comments section below. Check out the other cool things appearing on the screen, and I'll see you next time.